That's right, as evidenced by what's on TripAdvisor and what I'd heard already from the receptionist Sigita here at the Monk's Bunk Hostel in Kaunas. Unfortunately, one of the main attractions of the town, for me at least, but I think also for many others, the Devil Museum, is temporarily closed, and that's been the case for nearly a year now, as I understand it. Could it possibly be that today is the reopening day? I'm tempted to go up there just in case, because online there's no indication of when the work's going to be finished, and whatever renovations are taking place, just maybe today is the reopening day. To be fair, I'm going up in that vicinity anyway, I think, so won't do any harm to just take a little peek, will it? But just goes to show, even if you've outlined those things you really want to see and do in a location, things can not work to plan exactly. Ah well, I'm sure we'll find lots of other sites and attractions as we make our way not towards the centre, but this way towards the big church. On the, yeah, in theory, pedestrianised street. So that's what the big white church looks like on the inside. But can't really stay in there too long because there was one local parishioner trying to do their praying thing, and there was a horde of kids all doing their school trip visit. So yes, already had a few of them following me very closely behind, walking on the pedestrianised street. I suppose they found me vaguely curious, but it can be a little bit of an uncomfortable feeling being followed by children. What can you do? Get the hell out of there as quickly as possible. That's what I did. And now I'm going to continue my search, if I can, for street art. But I'm just looking at the plan of the road here. According to the map, I go down here first and then turn left. But it's not necessarily looking a viable option, is it? I think I see, guess what, a way around it. Good. Okay, I thought the whole of the road was boarded off, but no. Sometimes, you know, street art really is put in obscure places. Talk about next to impossible to get to. Phew. Your guess is as good as mine. Here we found the Nikiforos Naive Art Centre. This makes it worthwhile, doesn't it? Economic faculty, presumably of the university, over there. Do I want to walk up this hill? Is it necessary? Well, yeah, the map tells me it is necessary. Let's go. No mistaking it, we're in Kaunas. Got the proof. Little fountain. Keep walking up Zamechu Gatva. Will you dance to the tune that merry maid is playing on her flute? Well, if you were here, you know you would. She lies right beside the bottom station of the funicular railway. So you can go up this glorified cable car, but not always, it seems. It's from 1931, so nearly 100 years old. €1 for anyone more than 7 years old, free for under 7-year-olds and for bikes. Attention, due to technical reasons, the funicular railway is temporarily closed. Sorry for any inconvenience. Zero information of how temporary actually is going to translate into days, weeks, months, years. Ah well, that was one fun alternative way of getting to the hill. If you're not a keen fan of walking up hills. The other alternative is become a fan of walking up hills, because that's really your only choice now. Well, I came this way quite by accident. I was looking for some more street art, which was hard to find, shall we say, to say the least. The location, as near as damn it that I could match up with the map, is now a building site. I guess once they were no longer the European capital of culture for 2022, presumably they decided, right, let's rip a load of this stuff down. So not all the street art clearly still exists, and other bits which may exist, as I've discovered to my cost, really must be so well hidden. Yeah, good luck to you if you find it, that's all I can say. There are still some pieces that I've been able to locate, and therefore I shall persevere and blunder on and try to see more of the street art, but also see a few other things. It's not going to be just about the street art hunt today, hopefully, unless the heat gets the better of me. Anyone who's a fan of classic British comedy, bit of a classic in my view, a modern, relatively modern classic. The show, not this vehicle. Do you remember Rick Spleen's Pistachio Scooter? What was Rick Spleen thinking of? Don't know if you can see that on the lower balcony, but somebody's decided they like to take their baths outdoors. Hey, if you got the space, why not utilize it? There was me thinking that it was Liepaja, with the reputation as a city of churches, but certainly they got their fair number of churches here in Kaunas, haven't they? There may or may not be a spectacular view from up here. Now I've reached the top. In theory, you get a cracking view over the old town. Can we get the right angle? Is there a right angle? Is it possible to get the right angle? Yeah, theory. In theory this, in theory that. The reality, despite the sign being in English as well as Lithuanian and clearly stating entrance to the roof terrace, or perhaps the spectacular city view, looking over the city centre, the river, the old town in the distance, who knows? You can only get up there with a ticket. The trouble is, nobody's working the front desk, shall we say, right now. Perhaps my timing was wrong and the person's just in the toilet at the moment. But it's too early for lunch, too late for breakfast. Maybe it's a brunch break. Could be. They could be big things in Lithuania right now. So we'll have to content ourselves with going down the side and then looking at it from the back of the church site. But I've got to tell you, I'm not hopeful. And there are occasions when it's probably better not to be hopeful. Ah well, I hope when you decide to walk up the hill or use the funicular railway when that is open again, come up here in search of the spectacular view from the top of the church. There will be somebody working the front desk selling tickets. That would be nice, wouldn't it? No indication of even how much the tickets cost, so I guess you can look at that online, but frankly, it's another disappointment for today. It's a real up and downer of a morning. But let's focus on the uppers. As we're at the top of the hill, we're now going to face a downer. But at the bottom of the hill, or part way down to the bottom, there could be another one of these elusive pieces of street art. Fingers crossed for number 30, which is called, let's get a preview, The Fight. I have to say I'm a little underwhelmed, but there'll be those of you out there who think it's terrific. So this is dedicated to you. Nice original feature from presumably the 30s. Because after all, if you didn't know already, Kaunas is an Art Deco city. And if you want to take a tour, you can, just concentrating on all the Art Deco architecture. There we are, nothing grand, nothing fancy. It just speaks something of the Art Deco. Well, in Polish, you'd call it Mickiewicz, Adam Mickiewicz Street. Here, Mickiewicz, Mickey Vicious Street, we can call it. And it really does pay to keep your eyes peeled, because set back off Mickey Vicious Street in this courtyard, look who we found. The lady with vermin. I'd like it without the headphones, I think. Yeah. Nonetheless, I'm glad I found her. Couldn't help but notice, mi scusi, molto scusi, a V7 Classic, whatever that means. Just looks nice. Nice view off to the left as you walk westward on Putvinskio Gatva. Caught my eye. Speaking of which, and it seems we are right at the heart on Putvinskio of what's called here buildings of interwar modernist architecture, 1918 to 1940. You can read all about it to your heart's content. If you care to just pause the video as it suits your needs. Funny looking thing, isn't it? Look at this bench. What a treasure this is. In my humble opinion. Or not so humble. And fittingly, perhaps, this is the site of an antique store. Downstairs into the antique store. Upstairs into a forgotten world. Love these railings. How couldn't you? Or is it just me? Feel free to comment down below. Tell me if I'm going mad. Or tell me if you just either share my taste or despise my taste. I prefer things far more functional and less decorative, less bourgeois. Like this thing over here, maybe. Or this thing up here. Ooh. Whatever next? What's the world coming to? Am I the only one thinking at this point? I think I've just discovered a new banner for my YouTube channel. All that remains for me to say is a big thank you to the artist. I think he saw me coming. Old meets new, and who said, ne'er the twain shall meet? I think they may have been mistaken. This is a nice little spot, isn't it? Very close to the former Vatican mission house, which is pretty nondescript. But this looks more interesting. For those people whose minds went to a dark place, yes, this young man is in fact playing a musical instrument. Some nice Art Deco era balconies up there. What era does this belong to? The Lost Cause era, maybe. Mythical beasts, horses riding over them, and a man atop. I'll let you try and identify the legend, as it escapes me. In view of places being closed, well, this outdoor sculpture gallery really is a super consolation. And I'm seeing these pieces as though they were brand new and fresh. God, this day is really picking up. What a lucky traveller I am. It's weird, but there's enough creativity and artistry going on for me to like this weird. Yes, yes, yes. What could this be? Didn't notice it before. I'm sure it hasn't just been strung up while I was up at the top there. Buddhist prayer flags. Suddenly we're seeing a blooming of Baltic sculpture. I definitely got to come to Kaunas for this. You wouldn't want to miss it, would you? Aha. And this is a place not to be missed if you're interested in art. An artist who has a surprise twist to him, an extra string to his bow. Mr. Čiurlionis. He wasn't long lived, only 36 when he died. And I remember going in there and being surprised. I wasn't knocked out by his paintings, far from it, but in certain areas of the museum they were playing extracts from his musical compositions, and they were pleasant. Yeah, I would say overall, come on, he's Lithuania's most prominent artist. You've got to go in, haven't you? And there's a nice little bit in there with old photographs of him living the simple life with his young family. It rather touched me that he died a relatively young man. I was delighted to see that his young daughter from the pictures, probably born around, I'm guessing 1900, early 1900s, she was still alive at the time when I first visited that museum. Very old lady, but I was pleased. She'd lost her daddy when she was young, gone through a bloody hard time of it, 2 world wars, then the Soviet oppression. What the heck am I looking at? Don't know, but can't explain it, but I like it. Isn't it funny? I suppose that's what art is. That's what art does to you. I can't convince anybody else that there's merit in this. Can't explain why I like it myself, but for me it's good, and I have to learn to be more respectful of people who look at other pieces of art which I think are just crap. still wrestling with that concept of my judgment isn't necessarily the only opinion with any value in the room. The arrogance of mankind, eh? With the reflection, I'm not sure if you're seeing the details. So it's one of those which is worth bearing in mind if you've got some time to kill at the end of the day and you feel you've got the energy after walking around Kaunas to go and hit a museum, then why not come here, take advantage of the fact that it is open that little bit later on a Friday. Just make sure you don't try your luck on Monday, because it ain't gonna happen, lady, or mister, or kids. The Devil's Museum. The Museum of Works and Collections of a gentleman with an unpronounceable surname, unless you're Lithuanian, was opened in 1966 in his house. The Memorial House exhibit introduces to the life of the painter and his family. The home and workshop environment of the 1920s and 1930s has survived, and you will find here authentic pieces of furniture and various interior details of that time, etc., etc. Devil sculptures, devil paintings, souvenirs, masks. Depending on your interest, you might be here 45 minutes to 2 hours. Judging by the comments I've seen online, this is a museum. I've been away long enough to want to come back again. And unfortunately, as you can see from the outside, this also ain't gonna happen. But we already had advance warning. Just think of it as a positive. Another reason why you gotta come back to Kaunas again. The Devil Museum. And there are also going to be those things which you really just don't have time, or you have less interest in visiting. Something like the Sugihara House Museum, for example, which is located over here, off to the east of the big park with the mosque and the Orthodox Church, ultimately leading down to the bus station. But over here, the Sugihara House, if you're inclined to find out how he risked his life saving Jewish people during the Second World War. The Embassy of the United States of America was located in this building from 1934 to 1938. And then they discovered that there was supernatural activity going on coming from the house next door, where the artist was conjuring up his devilment. Nice feature above the door. What the heck is that I'm eating, I hear you ask? I have to tell you, it's a bargain. 65 cents. A mushroom bun, basically cooked mushroom. Inside, tasty. Little like sesame seeds or something on top. Very nice midday snack right now here in the centre of Kaunas. Had some peppermint and ginger tea from my water bottle, and I failed again to find the street art I was looking for. Another failure regarding the street art. Couldn't find the one here marked on the map. Around the corner, but actually on 30, I think it's 36 Donileceo. What to do? I'm not sure. But I came right round the corner and realised it opened out into this space, which is given over to memorial sculptures marking the armed Lithuanian people of the past. Vytauto's Great War Museum of warfare in the 20th century primarily, it would appear, given by the presence of the usual suspects. Quasi Adolf and Old Uncle Joe. This building, the Great War Museum, is the front part, the southern part of the Čiurlionis building. This is to the south. Facing north is the Čiurlionis Museum, which we looked at earlier. Don't feel like studying a potted history of warfare right now. You kind of just don't feel in the mood some days, do you? And some months, some years. So if you don't feel in the mood, I say don't go into that museum.